nobody tuned in yet, but... Hey guys, just give us a second. We're getting everything set up right now. Wendy will be in a minute and she'll start our program. Thanks for tuning in. Hey Jennifer. Hey Paula. I don't think I know you, Shay. Where are you from? By the way, this is Amber. So Jennifer knew that it was Amber. She recognized my voice. But Wendy will be here in just a minute and we'll get started. All right, here is Wendy. Wendy Whitesides, our Director of Education at Companion Parrots Rehomed.
Hi. I'd like to thank you for taking some time out of your schedule today. Not like you got anything better to do right now since we're all sort of home self-quarantining. So we decided to, instead of you not being able to join us here, we brought this to you. Who we are, we're Companion Parrots Rehomed. We're located in Charlotte, North Carolina, actually Pineville. Where our mission and vision is to accept crisis, unwanted birds that need to be rehomed, and through education and training, we will find new homes for your beloved parrots. So that is what we do. But what we've come up with, nutrition has failed us as far as conventional nutrition, as far as our avian parrots, our birds go. First, we were given, the seed diet is perfect because that's what all birds outside eat. But the problem with that is that our birds are smart and they figure out exactly what things they like and what they don't like. So the vets decide, well, we're gonna add some vitamins to the seeds. Well, when they did that, birds, how did they eat? They shucked their seeds. So all those good vitamins went down to the bottom. Then they decided, well, we're gonna pellet things. Well, that's all fine and dandy, except the only real research we have on pellets has been done with chickens. And chickens eat, in a lot of your pellets, they have corn, soybeans, other things that parrots in the wild don't eat. So, and pellet companies also have said that this is all you really need to feed your birds. Well, we're coming to the realization that birds are from all over the world. Second, there's no one bird food that can give you everything that a bird would normally get in the wild. So we have come up, we've done a lot of research, and we'd like to actually thank Dr. Jason Crean. He's helped us put together our Fun with Food workshop, where you need to offer the most diverse foods to your birds and in a raw diet. And how we do that is through sprouting, through foods, through vegetables, and through grains and teas and such. So, we're going to teach you in an abbreviated format how we do that here. And it's going to be a little bit different than if you come in. This is just, we're going to show you how we put it together. And then if you have questions to that, you can type in and ask. Okay? So we're going to talk about veggies.
Okay. All right. Hi, y'all. I am Candy. Ow, I'm clumsy apparently. Okay, and I've never done a Facebook Live before, so you'll have to excuse me. I'm going to talk about the fresh veggies. In the wild, the birds, they go forage in whatever area it is that they're currently foraging in, and they eat what they've grown to eat as the flock has taught them. We, of course, they're in our homes, and we're responsible for giving them those same needs. When they run out of food in a particular area, they move to another area, and it might be a different variety of food sources from each feeding area to another feeding area. So one of the keys that we do here is we do variety in our chop. Not only do we have variety in the chop, but this month's chop might be slightly different than next month's chop. And when we give the birds, so we have 40 birds in our store, this bird might get the carrots in his chop, but the next bird might get radishes instead. So you're still getting variety even though you're making a basic chop. Today, I have a variety of different colors, and when you come to the in-class, whenever we're finally back to socializing in person, you get these little charts, which is an easy at-home. Just put this on your refrigerator and you can just go by this. We have to thank Phoenix Landing for offering us access to this chart. Without them, we also would not have this. But this is make your own creation, and you pick from each of the different categories when you're making your chop. So the first column is green veggies, and you have vitamin A in your high calcium foods. So for our green veggies, I have kale and arugula. I have Brussels sprouts, broccoli, summer squash. I have green beans and peas and cilantro. So that is our green base. Then, just like us, the more colorful the diet is, the better nutrients you're going to get, the more variety of vitamins you're going to get. So color is also important. So in our second column is the yellow and colorful veggies. And I have radishes. I have multicolored peppers, red, yellow, and orange. I have carrots, yellow summer squash. I have butternut squash and red cabbage. So that is going to give them a variety of vitamins and minerals and a variety of sources for food. Of course, they're going to pick out their favorites first and then move on from there. And as a little tip, if you have a picky bird, you can be their flock. Their flock teaches them what's appropriate to eat. So if you have a picky bird, just eat with your bird and let them see what you're eating, and hopefully they'll come around and start eating with you as well. My guys, I have 2 African Greys. They love to have breakfast with me in the morning, and we all sit down and have breakfast together. So that's when they get their chop. Also, first thing in the morning, if you have a bird that wants, that's when they're going to be the hungriest. So that's the time when you want to introduce new foods to them as well. Just a little trick there. All of these vegetables, pardon me, have been washed and rinsed in baking soda wash, just to get off any pesticides, because they do come from a retail store. If you have a garden at home and you know that it's pesticide free, by all means, you can use that as well. I'm horrible with math, y'all. For real, it's 2 teaspoons per liter if you're making your own baking soda thing. I think I did the math once and it was like a 1/4 cup per big batch. So I'm not 100% sure on the math on that. You can look that up. We're going to mix all of this together with Wendy's sprouts, and she's going to cover how to introduce that so that they can get a variety of sources for their proteins. I will add that fruits are a great treat. We add them as we sprinkle them on top right before we serve their food. Birds do get fruit in the wild. We just don't mix it into our main chop. So Wendy's going to do the sprouts, and then we're going to mix it all together for you.
This is so sweet. Okay, let me get on my soapbox about pellets for just a moment, because our pellets have been, there's several different kinds of pellets. Pellets are normally extruded. What extruded does is they take all the combination of the ingredients, they bake it at a high temperature, they run it through a mold, and this process is called extrusion. And then what happens there, through this process, it creates what's called acrylamides. Now, acrylamides are a cancer-causing agent that can build up in your bird, in your dog, in your cat. So this is the main reason why we want to move to a natural raw food diet over a processed diet. When we look at processing, it's like if we eat hamburger helper every day for the rest of our lives, we're gonna come into some of these diseases and also some deficits in nutritional value. So that is the main reason why we use a whole raw foods diet. There is one.
Can you talk louder?
Okay,
They're saying it's a little hard to hear you.
Okay, there is one manufacturer that we do approve as far as their pellets go, and that would be Tops. Tops is a cold pressed organic diet, which they have their big boy pants on, and they say this is not the only thing you need to be feeding your bird. So they are right in line with us. Okay, so now let's talk about the process of why do we sprout? Okay, a seed holds, when it's dead and dormant, there's not much nutrition in it. But once you even soak the seed, it starts to release proteins, amino acids, vegetables, which are far more and far greater than our regular natural vegetables. So when we start to sprout things within a day or two, the benefits start to increase exponentially. We are using China Fair products today. Here at the store, we sell a little kit. It's an Easy Sprout kit. What the two formulas I've sprouted today are the Thrive formula here and the micrograin, actually the citizens grains, which is for bigger birds. If you come into the shop or if you want to order online, this little kit will start you off. It has an Easy Sprouter in it. It has a sample of the blend. It has GSE in it and the directions on how to do this.
Do you want to tell them what GSE is?
GSE is grapefruit seed extract, which actually everybody should be looking into getting some. This is a phenomenal virucidal bacterial agent that can be used safely around your birds. I put it in my cleaning solution when I'm cleaning the bird cages along with the OxyFresh. You can wash your veggies in it. You can use it as a cleaner also. And it can also be taken internally. There's a product, a nasal spray that has GSE in it also. So it's a very, very good product. Okay, so what we've done here, let me just bring this up. This is our citizen blend. You see that up in there? Okay, and there are more than at least 15, 20 different types of seeds in there. And this is the Thrive blend. If you're not big into sprouting yet, this blend here you can soak and serve. It's an overnight thing. I've let this out for about a day to sprout. Now when I'm sprouting, I do a dipping in between to keep any sorts of bacteria off of that. I'm using the GSE.
So you're dipping it in the GSE?
Yes.
Okay.
It's 8 drops per gallon. So it's a dip and it's a rinse. After they soak, I rinse, then I dip, and then I leave them out for 8 hours, and then I do it again. And another very easy sprouting is quinoa. Now, instead of a lot of people cook quinoa and give it to their birds, what's better than soak it for 2 hours, leave it for 24, and you have all these nice little sprouts here. And you've tripled the nutritional value on it. Okay, so that, we have the 3 blends that we have sprouted for this purpose. What we're going to do is to combine into a mash and then freeze it. Now, when we do this, we have a lot of dry ingredients that we add into it, so that when upon taking it out of the freezer, it doesn't look like mush. Because a lot of people, they will make a chop and they forget to put dry ingredients in there, and then bring it out, the birds aren't going to eat it because the texture's not right. So is there anything that any questions before we start to assemble this?
No questions. Desiree is driving in the car. She wishes she could see the whole thing, so we'll save it so that she can watch it later.
Alrighty. Okay, so this might be shorter than anticipated, but please see, this is for short people like me. Now, when we put this thing together, can you see okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's good. When we put this thing together, we've got this one too. It's on for you. Okay, well, my hands are clean. But we'll just do it together. So, I gotta cut my finger. Okay, yes, so actually soap and water is best, but in a situation like this, we use hand sanitizer. Shall we sing happy birthday to you? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Wendy. Happy birthday to you. Okay. Do we need that other one on shares too? No, we'll just leave it for now. We'll be fine. Okay. Okay, so how we start this thing up is we want to add our dry mix, and we use rolled oats. Rolled oats they absorb a lot of liquid, and they also, the birds can eat it. So we start here with some rolled oats. And this is unsweetened coconut. And I'm gonna do a half a bag because we have another tub that we're going to make also. Now, the reason why we use a clear container, you'll see it's almost like our 7-layer salad that we're gonna make, but it's also so that we can see what is going in there. Shameless plug if he's watching for Greywood manatees. We also use other teas because with the huge flock that we're feeding, I mean, for you guys out there, it's good that you could probably use this, but for our flock in general, we use
And we are not sponsored by any of these people, so if they want to send us stuff in the mail for free, we would really appreciate that. Absolutely. But we are not sponsored, and we just support them because we really like the products that they have.
Yeah. Exactly. And then since this already has a lot of, that's for chamomile. We also add calendula. The reasons why we add teas to these is because these teas also have therapeutic properties. Calendula is a great anti-inflammatory, and likewise is chamomile and hibiscus. Here is the hibiscus, and plus the colors attract the birds, so it makes the shop more appetizing. This is a big red flower. Or dark red flower, I should say. We also have on our wish list on Amazon, we have these checked. Also, if you would like to send us some in the donation format, ship it to us. You can just check. This is chamomile flowers. Yeah, the chamomile is very, very good for calming down birds. It's also a good anti-inflammatory, not calming down. It has the natural calming effect to it.
So we should all be drinking it as well right now?
Exactly, yes. In fact, I should have had a cup of tea before I started here. So, okay, so we have our dry mix factors. I put in the coconuts, the dried oats, some teas, and I think that's it for dry mix now. So we shall start with some of our veggies first.
So this is the kale. This is a little more finely chopped. You can leave it leafy. I ran it through the food processor, and you can see there's actually some liquid on there, so it helps to have this dry ingredients on the bottom. I'm trying to remember that we have this like really, usually is a little more fibrous, more bulky. It's really fun.
Yeah.
I don't know why. But we also have arugula.
It's from my garden.
From Wendy's
I was
garden.
out there cutting today.
And you can just leave it leafy. It will absorb the liquid as well and wilt.
We're putting some flowers in there, a little added enrichment for the birds. And there's some stockiness in there too.
And then this is going to be a little. So this is also our greens. And again, you're going to want to chop these for the size of bird that you have. I used a food processor because we're feeding 40 birds and that's a lot of work. But at home, I use my food chopper and make it just a little bit bigger because my grays like to pick it up a little bit.
This is broccoli, which our parakeets love when it's this budgies, I should say, when it's
And
this
as
fine.
long as you're offering a variety of foods, you're not just 100% giving them only broccoli. You totally want to mix it up with these other vegetables, and that's their variety, and they're well protected. I'm putting in some Brussels sprouts right now. I will also tell you, my parrots love to eat Brussels sprouts like apples. They just pick the whole thing up and will chomp it. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Really quick, Desiree, we're saying chamomile, like chamomile tea, not camel milk.
That would be interesting. I don't even know how
They
you
might
do that.
like camel milk, but I don't know where we're going to get it.
I don't know how you would do that. This is summer squash, just zucchini.
And now that's the perfect time to start gardening for your birds. Not only for your birds, but for us too. Because nothing beats fresh
I'm
veggies.
gonna put a little more broccoli in there. There's a lot of broccoli. All right, okay.
There you go. Alrighty.
Now this is, I have some green beans and some snap peas in here. Again, you can also leave those whole. They love to just pick them up and chomp on them. And then parrots they don't have as many taste buds as we do. So they absolutely love spicy peppers. And I have some jalapenos in here for our guys.
Don't hit your eye.
Yes, don't touch your face. I have done that on more than one occasion.
Not fun.
And then I'm gonna spruce this up just a little bit. It smells so good. Y'all should smell it. This is some cilantro. And the birds usually go pretty crazy for this stuff. It's cilantro.
And this is
Wendy's eating lunch right now.
radishes, which are really good. That's the thing. This is good for you guys too.
Oh, absolutely. When I first started making chop for my birds, and I started taking it with me to lunch. So I was like, a little for you and a little for me.
Mm-hmm. And also, if they're not used to eating chop, used to eating some of this, and your bird, they got to tap into that flock mentality. They pick it right up too.
I have to tell you, Max is the one that taught me how to eat better. He's my African gray. He was my first boy. Here's some colored peppers, all different colors. He wanted, I was having a popsicle, I was having a fudgesicle one day, and he came out of his cage and was like, I want some. And I was like, no, you can't have that. And so I went and got a carrot. So
She was shamed.
my parrot shamed me into healthier eating.
Parrot was throwing shade.
And carrots. And you can do parsnips as well. Parsnips are awesome. I realize they're not colorful, but they're in the same family.
And a lot of these carrots come in different colors now too. So It
So I
adds
knew that was gonna happen.
to a lot of birds they see differently than we do. They see in tetratonic or pentatonic, depending on different kinds of birds, which means that they see colors totally different than we do.
And this is yellow summer squash.
So if things are nice and colorful, they're gonna eat it.
That's a great idea. Desiree says she makes hers into vegetable soup.
Yes.
So some of her ingredients from the chop for herself.
Yes.
So that's a good way to keep you healthy. You're,
I do. It's so funny.
There we go. Okay.
And this is the last little bitch batch. I am now internet famous. Okay.
And this is not vodka.
Butternut squash.
the parsnips are not cooked. That's correct, right? Everything's raw.
Yes, all of this is raw. And put like butternut squash.
And also with the butternut squash, you add all of it except for the skin.
Yes.
Can be used. You can use all the seeds inside. You don't have to cook them. You can just serve them raw. And they like them a lot. Like when pumpkin season's around, the small, not little pie pumpkins, you can serve to your bird as a form of enrichment. You can either slice it open, let them go through it, or you can just scrub up the sides and let the bird have at it. It's very messy, so be prepared for that. But it's great enrichment.
A lot of fun.
Okay.
Okay, so from here we're gonna start. You all done here? We're gonna start adding our sprouts here. This is the Thrive sprout. And the Thrive sprout has a lot of lentils, chickpeas, things like that in there. So we're going to do another half of this. Okay. And this is our citizen mix. What's really nice with buying these mixes, I mean, I used to go out and go to Earth Fair, which is no longer with us, and get all these ingredients separately, or as best I could. What's nice about these blends here, Charlie Perry's definitely done their homework. Ed, is that Ed? Anyway, he used to just feed his birds sprouts and veggies, but mostly sprouts, because there's so much nutrition in the sprouts. So you really can't go wrong. And another thing, these are seeds. So if you only have if you want to convert a seed eater to this, you can start soaking whatever seed they're eating now, and then offer it to them the day after, or sprout some of it, and then they naturally acclimate to eating sprouts. It's a win-win. So this was quinoa. Okay, and so once we add our sprouts, then I have some dry ingredients that we're going to add on the top. Using my brain. Tops almond seed mix is an excellent. Thank you. Is an excellent mix. You can use this. You can add it straight to your sprout or to your mash. You can soak and sprout this, or you can add this into their pellets as a dry mix. So it's very versatile. So we're just going to add this to some dry mix to where when we do freeze it, comes when it defrosts, it helps absorb the moisture. And then birds like nuts. So we're adding. The best thing to do is to soak your nuts. It makes them more bioavailable. Cashews, it's like ice cream. Okay, so I mean cashews They have a lot of fat, but if we look at this whole thing, a few cashews are not going to kill you. I mean, it's a few extra calories, but here we have some almonds. And pepitas are a great source of omega-3s, 6 and 9. Is there anything else? No, I put another bag of nuts. Okay, so this is basically what we have for if you're doing this at home. I do mine in a stock top because there's no way that you need this much for just, unless you have a flock of 40 birds, and of course you're going to do it this way. But you can tailor all this down, and with us, we're all going to be home for a little bit. So why not take the time? Everyone says, oh, I'm very busy, I don't have time to do this. Well, you know what, folks, now we have time. So let's go and make a good shop for our birds. And then you can, the food lasts 3 to 4 months in the freezer before it starts to deteriorate nutritionally. So now, let's all get on the bandwagon and start making shop for our birds. So right now I've already sterilized my hands, so we're gonna get up here, get
Do you have any feeding guidelines, like how much you feed them?
I feed them, well, my birds in the morning, they get about 2 tablespoons. I sprout every day. So I always have fresh sprouts going. So when I have frozen chop, so they get like a tablespoon of chop, heaping tablespoon of chop, and then a heaping tablespoon of sprouts, and I mix it together. And that, I keep it in the cage pretty much all day. But I'm home all day. And the reason with that is because fresh food doesn't go bad like cooked food does.
And you add GSE to the chop that you leave out all day?
No.
You don't? Okay.
No. I will use a mix of coconut oil and red palm oil.
That's right.
And then I do a mix of 1 to 2, 2 parts red palm to 1 part coconut oil, and then like for my gray, I put a 1/4 teaspoon on it and mix it in.
And you add that on to the frozen chop. It is not added into the bin.
That's correct, yes. That's to keep everything fresh, and it also our birds are lacking in those omega-3s, 6 essential fatty acids. Your African grays, in the wild, they sit and they eat those nuts. That is their nutrition. So we definitely need to be supplementing them. Also for your macaws too, they need the red palm oil. Okay, so we're basically mixing all this up to where
You have a little spot front center.
front and center.
There you go.
Are you going to talk about the chia and flaxseed?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure.
Yep. So once we get this all mixed up, then we can package it up, which we're not going to bore you with packaging and everything. But as far as serving, I mean, when I package usually in 3-day supply. So basically it's a cup for me because I have 2 birds. And the way I feed chop is that they get it in the morning. I always leave a little bit of seed, not seed, pellets, actually a dry mix. So but just a little, so that if they would like that, they have it to the advantage. But I mean, accessibility. At night is when I feed the dry mix to them. But other people feed differently.
So here at the store, because we're taking care of a large flock of birds, we feed them their chop or mash first thing in the morning. That's what we go through and do. We give each bird about a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons because they're all in different places. Some birds have just come in from quarantine and they're eating seeds still a lot. a lot of seeds, so we don't want them to get a bunch of chop they're not going to eat. Whereas we have other birds that are great eaters. If you don't know Bosley, I can walk out and show her to you before we end today. But Bosley's our mascot, and Bosley will eat chop all day long. So I give her a lot more than some of the other birds who don't eat as much. So you kind of get to know your flock. If you're dealing with a large flock like we are, we know them and we know what they like, and we kind of feed them based on what they need.
See if
And I have my 2 guys, so they get chopped twice a day. I have 2 African guys, and now that I'm home, they're getting super spoiled. But I work during the day, but I have a son that's home. So I give them chop in the morning. I get like the same, about 2 tablespoons of chop. And then we switch it out and I give them pellets, which they won't eat until like when I get home. They'll be in there because if they're hungry, they'll eat them. But then when we start cooking our dinner, they also get chop again at night, and they will wait for their chop at night. They would much rather have this chop than have those pellets. But then my birds get chopped twice a day.
And you can do that. I mean, because this is, I mean, how many ingredients are in there?
Oh my gosh, so many. And again, like when she put the nuts and stuff in here, we talked about variety. Like there was maybe half a dozen cashews in here, which means some lucky bird out there on the floor is going to get a cashew, but not everybody's going to get a cashew. That is the same as variety in the wild. Like,
And if the feeder who's feeding walks by the cage of a bird that probably will not eat a cashew, then usually she saves it for the one that will eat
That
it.
will eat the cashews.
So they better be nice to me if they want the cashew.
And walnuts, normally I would add walnuts to there because walnuts are very, very good for them.
So at the store, we do leave their pellets in all day. So we usually feed the chop, and then we pick up the chop, and then we leave the pellets in the rest of the day. And we currently feed tops pellets to all the birds available for adoption.
From the bottom. So we're going to continue mixing them a little bit more because we don't want anything to be heavy at one point. But what I know normally when our bins are, we're doing actually we're going to finish up another bin, but normally they're pretty high, and you really get a good arm workout when you're mixing this stuff.
Indeed.
But
Who needs the gym?
exactly. Who needs the gym? We'll just make some chop. But that looks pretty good. Oh gosh, this thing scared me. Yeah.
There's a little arugula there. And it's different. But there's different sizes. It's like it's a good for a bird. Even little guys can eat these big pieces. They'll pick at them. Okay, so.
All right, so there is our chop. What we also do when we feed is that we have a dry mix that we put on top of our chop when we do feed. It is a mixture of flaxseed, chia seed, and hemp seed. These seeds are very high in omega-3, 6, 9, which our birds so desperately need. So we also add this to the top.
And when you're, if y'all can see me, and when right before you serve it, right before you put it in their cage, that's when you want to add the fruit. If you're going to give them little pieces of mango or whatever. And we don't put that in our main chop. We just add that as a last minute serving on top.
But the fruits that you should be feeding when you're feeding fruit would be like blueberries and raspberries. Mango is good. Papaya is really good. Like I said, with the papaya, feed, cut it up, but save those seeds and feed them as well because they're very, very nutritious. But yes, in the wild, the birds are eating them. But they are also expending more energy than our cage birds are.
Absolutely.
So we just want to, not as they say, it's about diversity. Because there's a whole lot of things in there. Okay.
That's it. It's also good. My guys love cayenne pepper. So right before I serve, I might put a little sprinkle of cayenne pepper on there.
Talk about.
And the turmeric. We do turmeric as well.
You can mix this stuff up by adding different spices to it. Like turmeric is very good if you for inflammation. You can add basil, oregano. Oregano is a good disinfectant, bacterial. And I grow this at home too. So sometimes I'll go out and do a couple snips of oregano or the arugula here and just add it, something fresh. You can always mix this stuff up. It shouldn't be, no one recipe, because if we're only feeding one recipe, we're gonna miss something nutritionally. Like parakeets who only ate a seed diet and broccoli.
Right.
And Cheerios, I think it was too.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. And then they had some nutritional deficits which created other things. Okay. Do we have any questions? Because I think we're just about gonna wrap this up.
So Laura asks, what proportion of fruit to chop do you add?
Tiny. Yeah. I have like a blueberry per bird, if that.
I think it depends on what your bird's doing as well.
Right.
So if your bird is unable to fly and it's just sitting in a cage all day, that's a lot different than a bird who's flying like the length of your home.
Right. So fruit is high in sugar, and sugar provides energy. So if you have a sedentary bird who's eating a lot of fruit, then you might end up with problems because they're going to want to expend energy and then not be able to. So that's why we limit fruit, because it's instant energy. Now, if you have an active bird, they might want more fruit. If you have a hormonal bird, you probably don't want as much fruit because then that gives them the energy they need to nest. So my guys at home, like I said, I work all day, so they generally get a blueberry or a small sliver of a strawberry or just minimal fruit. I don't know about yours.
Well, it depends on the amount chopped. Let's see.
This is a tough question because parrots are so prone to heart disease.
Right.
We always thought the parrots were going to outlive us. Then it became they were going to live to be 50 or 60, and now we have birds that are passing away at 25, especially African greys. You can talk to Dr. Lauren Powers about that because of atherosclerosis. So it's just a tough question.
It's amazing because they are susceptible to all the same things. They can get diabetes, and they can have obesity, and so
hypertension,
and all that stuff. So just like us, whatever we're limiting ourselves, whatever we're worried about our health, we're also worried about theirs as well.
Linda wants you to go over one more time about what's in the mash one more time. And then Desiree asks, how about banana?
I'll let you deal with bananas.
You know what? Bananas aren't bad. What we can do, because they are rather sugary. But, it can be a form of enrichment. Scrub the outside of the banana peel. Slice it to where you're giving like just one thing to it.
One sliver.
Where they have a sliver of it and then they have to work for it. You can also, if your bird's not eating this stuff, you do the banana roll. You get a piece of banana, you roll it in the chop, and they are getting it. Bananas are high in potassium too.
Right.
Again, it's all about diversity and having enough mixture. With the fruit too. Like blueberries, they're not getting it all the time. Like when like pomegranates are in season, feeding pomegranates is good, but you can put a whole pomegranate in here.
Yeah, and the other thing is we have different levels of chop. So this would be the chop that we have taught the birds to eat.
Exactly.
Whereas we also have one that we sell in the store that has some pineapple in it. And if pineapple is what it takes to get your bird to eat kale and red, orange, and green veggies, then you'd rather them have the pineapple than have them just eating a commercial grade seed that you've bought at like a large feed store or something.
Okay. So from my green column, I don't know if can y'all see this?
So we're getting some requests about they want an ingredient list on Facebook. Sure, I'm sure we can do that. And then I do have a question also about Renee once said that her gray is a plucker. Is there something that she could add for her? So you might want to tell her about the Graywood Manor teas.
Okay, yeah, the Graywood Manor teas, in fact, that's what we put in here. This is called Pretty Plume. Okay, Pretty Plume has burdock root, chamomile, calendula, lemongrass, and lavender. What we normally put in chop is chamomile, calendula, and we've added hibiscus. But this can be brewed. It's 10 ounces of water to a tablespoon of tea, and then you can start them off, you can dilute it first so that they will start drinking it. Now, when you're offering tea, you also need to have water with it too. I mean, on a bowl of water or a water bottle.
Separate from the tea.
From the tea, yes. And so most birds will drink this. You can also take some of the tea leaves from when you're brewing it and put it in the bowl with it. Also, you can add that to your chop mix too. You can also put this in a spray bottle and spray it on your bird.
So if you look them up, the company is called Greywood Manor. They have a bunch of different teas. So they have Pretty Plume. They've got one for plucking specifically, I believe.
That's
Oh, that is the Pretty Plume. And then they have like Hormone Havoc. So if you have a really hormonal bird, there's a lot of different options that you can look at on their website to purchase.
These were formulated by Dr. Kieran Becker and with Jason Crean too. So these are really good.
So I have some other questions. There's a question about hard-boiled eggs. Can they have hard-boiled eggs? How do you feel about that?
Is it raw? I mean, no.
Hard-boiled wouldn't be raw because it'd be cooked.
This is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, my big thing is that in life, we all deserve to live a little bit.
Exactly.
I deserve to eat pizza sometimes. Mm-hmm. If I'm eating pizza every day, then that's not going to work. But if a piece of a hard-boiled egg gets your bird to come and step onto your hand versus sitting in a cage by itself, then fine. I make them work for all the foods that I know that they may not
treats, yes.
need to eat in their cage, if that makes sense. Yes. So eventually, hopefully, we'll get Debbie Foster from Parrot P's and Q's on here so she can do something and go more into how to use all these fun foods for enrichment and for training. Mm-hmm. But today, I guess the answer is I would use it as a treat.
As a treat, yeah. Because, I mean, I have, once a year, my guys get scrambled eggs.
Christmas dinner.
Christmas
dinner.
They get scrambled eggs.
Did you talk about chia seeds and flax seeds yet?
Yes, I did.
Okay, you did. Okay, sorry. I had to walk out of the room.
That's all right in here. In fact, we're thinking about making this available. Eventually, we'll start packaging it here for the store. But it is chia, flax, and hemp. And this is a powerhouse of omega-369s.
And what we have in our mix today, it's just this one we're doing this time. Next time might be a little different. But this is kale. We have some kale. And we have Wendy's arugula from her garden.
Whoop, whoop.
That's garden.
Right? And also, talk about organic. That came straight from the ground. And here we have some zucchini, some Brussels sprouts, some broccoli.
And we use all the broccoli.
We use the stem and everything. You can even use the stem as a foraging treat and put it on a kebab and let them tear at it. It's a good foraging treat. Then we also have, I have some, if y'all can see this, I have some green beans, and they're really hard to see in here, but I also have some snap peas. I have
jalapenos.
But don't touch your face. Don't touch your face. I have some radishes. I do that every time. I swear. I always touch my face.
Don't touch your face. This is not the time.
I do. And some cilantro. This smells good. They'll love this. They love cilantro. And then for my colored stuff, I have the radishes. I didn't think I showed you the radishes, but they do. For my colored veggies, I have some summer squash. I have carrots. And I have all three colors of peppers. You can also use green bell peppers as well. This time we're not doing the green bell peppers, but you can do them as well. And then finally I have some butternut squash, and I have some red cabbage. And that is what is in our chop today, in addition to the easy sprouted sprouts that Wendy put in.
Yeah, that was a Citizen blend and the Thrive blend that came from China Prairie. We do carry those in the store too.
So do you want to answer a question we have about organic peanut butter?
No, and
no peanut butter.
Can you say why?
Because even though it's organic, peanut butter comes from peanuts, which are not another legume, which a legume grows in the ground and can get a fungus called aspergillus.
Right, and our stomach acid, we can digest that fungus, but a bird's stomach cannot. So therefore, they can get sick from that. And in the process of shipping, because in our consumer society, we harvest and it's on a truck and it sits in a warehouse and then it sits in a bag on the store. and that fungus continues to grow even on this shelf. So for safety, we just do not. Peanuts, no peanut butter, no in the shell.
Especially since you have almond butter that's available if you want to do something as a treat.
Almond butter, walnut butter, even sunflower butter is way much better.
Yeah.
It's way much better.
Because they did a study, I don't know the statistic, but there was still a certain amount of it that was allowed in. So it's just not worth it if you can get them to eat something else.
Right, and I would use just regular nuts for treats instead of
peanut butter.
Instead of peanut butter, because that's a whole lot of sugar. It's like dried fruit over real fruit.
And if you think about peanut butter is processed in some way, it's just like a smoothie versus an actual fruit, like an actual strawberry versus a strawberry smoothie. Your body has to work harder to break down those fibers to digest the food, and so it gets more out of it if you give them the whole food as opposed to the already processed food.
So Candy had a question. If she makes a large amount for one bird, how long does it freeze for? I think Wendy said 3 to 4 months it's good for in the freezer. And then Laura wants to know, do you chop the ingredients in small pieces to encourage the birds to eat everything rather than pick and choose specific items?
That depends on who you're feeding.
It's your bird.
Yeah, this stuff is, we did run it through the food processor, but there are other bigger pieces here too.
Absolutely. And we have macaw, everything from budgie to macaw on the floor. I will tell you that my 2 grays, I have done it both ways. I have done this super fine chop, and I have done great big chumpy chop, and my guys kind of like somewhere in the middle. But if your bird, and whatever your bird is going to eat, that's how you want to prepare it.
And maybe if they're not eating chop right now, do it fine. Because that way, even though they're going for this pepper here, okay, it still has other things on it.
Absolutely.
They're picking it.
That's how I get my guys to eat kale.
Yeah.
I let it stick to the chickpeas. And then they don't have a choice because they like chickpeas.
So even though it's, it's chopped up fine, your bird's going to get things from it.
So really quick, I don't see where the cilantro gets slimy after being frozen and thawed out, because we add the oats and all the dry ingredients that absorb the moisture.
Yes. That's where, and I forgot to hit on those points. Yes, you have to add your dry ingredients. You got to add oats. We add the teas. We add the unsweetened coconut, because all that binds with whatever liquid with unfreezing. Yes, it's not going to look like it does right now, but they're still
pretty close.
Eat it. It's close, yes.
And then Sohaila, we use this for budgies up to macaws, so this is definitely good for a Quaker parrot.
Absolutely.
And Tracy, we are feeding about probably 40 birds on average, so this will last us about a month and a half at the most.
Well, we're going to do.
We're going to do a second one, so
right.
It usually lasts us until the next food class, which would be in May, where you can actually, if you want to come here, maybe, hopefully by May, we can all be together again. And then I have a question about how much to give a budgie. Our budgies are probably the best chop eaters we have here. So we have we keep our budgies in flocks so that we can help more at a time. So we have about 6 birds in an enclosure, and I put a flat plate on the bottom, because in the wild you see them foraging on the ground in fields to get the seeds. And so then they eat. I mean, they kill this chop. They love it.
Yeah,
they're amazing.
I have a video of these guys eating this chop. It's very cute. Also, to encourage them to forage and things, move your food bowls around. My grays, they get their chop on the bottom of the cage. Other days they'll get it at a different location. So move them around. Foraging is very important. But yeah, feed at different locations within the cages.
And Wendy hit it earlier, but eating with your bird, so your bird getting to watch you eat will teach them how to eat. I always try to keep some budgies who eat chop in the enclosure with the new guys, because then immediately they'll come down and start eating it, versus me trying to change their schedule around to get them interested in trying it is much harder than just allowing the flock to teach them how to eat it.
Yeah. And patience. You just have to be patient. Don't give up. If they're not eating their Brussels sprouts, you still have to continue to offer it. And eventually they'll accidentally eat a piece and realize it's not that horrible. And then they'll get on it.
Especially, we get some 40-year-old Amazons in that have been on seed diets their whole lives, and they just devour it because it makes them feel so much better.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
It's
So
really
patience.
And remember, you are smarter than your bird.
Absolutely.
You know?
And if you're not, you can call us, and we'll help you. Because we've done this with about 1,000 birds at this point, so we have a lot of experience.
So yes, all birds that leave here eat chop.
Absolutely.
And It's so good for them. I mean, you can't replace that with a bag of pellets and seed.
You just want to have all of it. You have to have diversity. It's very important.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Can you go over the dry ingredients one more time?
Okay, starting with the dry ingredients was our rolled oats, and then we added shredded coconuts, unsweetened. And sweetened is very important. And then we either added the Greywood Manor tea or the teas that I get because we're doing a huge flock. This is calendula, which is in the pretty clean tea, chamomile, and then hibiscus we put in there in the tops. Yes, and we added the tops on top. You can also add pearl barley and red wheat berries that you can add onto the top as far as dry mixes go.
And when we get this posted, or if you come to the class, like this handy little chart, I keep it on my refrigerator all the time, and I just change up what I pull each time. But there's a list of those on here. There's the legumes and the omega-3s, and all of that's on here. So we'll work on that for y'all.
Okay. Now, Companion Parrot Tree Home is a nonprofit organization. So as I say at the end of every single one of my classes, if you have learned one thing from it, please donate to the organization. It's for the benefit of the birds, your birds, our birds, and also to keep this program going so that we can do more classes like this.
We don't have any paid staff, so all the money that you donate goes directly back to support the birds.
Yeah, so we are all volunteers. We don't get paid for this.
So, if everyone donates $5 or 10 or whatever you can do would be so greatly appreciated at this time.
And you can do that through PayPal. I know we're not really getting out much, but PayPal, and then we also we talked about the Facebook. We have a wish list on there as well, and they'll ship it directly to us.
That's the Amazon wish list.
Yes, Amazon, and it's on our website. We also have a donate on our website.
I'll make a list. So if you guys get me the list of ingredients from today, I'll add ways to give at the bottom for everybody.
Yes, but don't let that be just it. You have to diversify. You have to shake it up, because if we're only feeding the same 10 vegetables or whatever, we need to add a little bit more.
I add something different every week. I take one thing out and I put something new in, and that way something new is being introduced every week.
Awesome. Do you guys have any other questions?
Before we wrap it up.
All right, I can really quickly make you all a little nauseous and take you around and show you what our store looks like for a second, if you'd like to see it. So we are in Pineville, which is right at the border of North and South Carolina. I'm going to walk slowly, but this is our classroom.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for everything. I'll walk you out so you can see it. So we have a storefront, which we're very fortunate. So we adopt out about 150 birds on average every year. So they all sit here and they're available for adoption. We're very fortunate that Parrot University is the largest sponsor that pays most of the bills so that the nonprofit can just focus on having classes for adoption and taking care of their birds. This is Bijou. I think I saw her previous owner was on here earlier, so I'll let her check her out. But I gotta let you see the big guy. So Bosley is the one bird that is not available for adoption. She stuck around for 11 years, so we decided that we couldn't let her go. We even have a birthday party for her in July, so hopefully we can live stream that and you guys can all see all the fun we're having here. But here's some of our birds. So we have a lot of birds to take care of. And then we do offer boarding, which obviously we don't have a lot of birds boarding right now, but we have a boarding hallway. So we're fortunate that we do have a number of volunteers that offer to quarantine birds, so that we quarantine the birds outside of our store for 30 days. They get a full veterinary exam by Dr. Lauren Powers at Carolina Vet Specialist in Charlotte. And then we make sure they don't have anything wrong with them so that we can bring them in and introduce them to our flock. And then they're available for adoption from there. We have some classes. We're trying to get all of our classes, so you'll probably be able to see our Parrot 101 and Avian Health and Wellness class next week. If you want to sign up for that, it'll be online as well. It's something that we want to do for a while, but all of the craziness in the world has pushed us to do it so that we can get you guys some more information. But we are so grateful for you guys being on here. If you need anything else, you can always call us. Our phone number is 704-889-2325. It's also on our Facebook page. But we just want to be a resource. We want to be a beacon of hope to help you guys take care of your birds and whatever you need. All right, we'll talk to you later. Bye.